In this lecture, we're going to provide a brief overview and introduction to skeletal muscle. And so as we see here on the picture on the right-hand side, we have a drawing illustrating just a few of the many skeletal muscles in the human body. And when we take a look at skeletal muscle, it takes up approximately 50% of body weight. And the function of skeletal muscle is to generate movement, physical movement. It also functions to provide stability when people are in a standing or even a seated position. Skeletal muscle controls various openings such as the oral cavity, does produce heat, and contributes to glycemic control, which is the regulation of blood glucose levels. Skeletal muscle also functions to generate speech. Skeletal muscle is important in order to carry out handwriting. It provides stability, as indicated just a moment ago, in terms of maintaining posture. There are approximately 600 different muscles in the human body. And muscle, period, exists as three unique types. Although this unit is dedicated to the study of skeletal muscle, it's important to indicate the three different types as we see here with skeletal, cardiac, and smooth muscle. And these illustrations demonstrate the unique characteristics or some of the unique features of the three muscle types. So this unit dedicated to skeletal muscle is muscle that is responsible for human motion, speech, and breathing, just to name a few basic functions. And human skeletal muscle is striated, and what that means is that if we take a look at an electron or a microscopic image of a number of skeletal muscle cells here, you'll see a regularity of striations. And those striations are generated from light going through that microscopic image and the regular appearance of proteins. So these are contractile proteins that generates the force inside skeletal muscle. The second muscle type here is smooth muscle, and smooth muscle is the type of muscle that we would find in the digestive system and in blood vessels. And within the digestive system, this smooth muscle produces force in a similar way. There are some unique differences, but it produces force as skeletal muscle does. But in the digestive system, it generates peristalsis, which is the forward movement of food in the digestive system. And in this picture you see the stomach, this drawing, and when the stomach smooth muscle contracts, it pushes food forward, and we find that smooth muscle is located throughout the entirety of the digestive system. Within the cardiovascular system, the smooth muscle generates resistance to blood flow. And by generating resistance to blood flow, the smooth muscle can divert blood from one organ that is not as active to diverting relatively more blood to organs that are more active. The third type of muscle is cardiac muscle, and cardiac muscle is found just in one organ, being the heart, and it makes up the largest mass of the heart. This muscle tissue is also striated, as indicated in this microscopic image below, in a similar way as the skeletal muscle is striated. And when this muscle contracts, its job is to pump blood out of the heart so that blood can go and deliver oxygen and nutrients to the rest of the body. In terms of overall muscle properties, there are 5 fundamental properties or characteristics of muscle. And the first basic characteristic is contractility. And that means that muscle has the ability to contract, which is to say that muscle produces force. And when that muscle produces force, the muscle cells will get shorter. Contractility is measured mechanically and can be measured at the whole muscle level and can be measured using unique techniques at the cellular level or measuring from muscle fibers. The second property is that muscle is excitable, and muscle has the ability to respond to a stimulus, and that stimulus can be electrical in nature or can be chemical in nature. We can just classify that as an electrochemical stimulus, and that means that when some electrical signal or a chemical signal hits that muscle cell will become active. And muscle is also conductive, which is to say that in a single muscle cell, an electrical signal that is generated from a neuron, that electrical signal will transmit along the entire muscle cell that spans the entire muscle. The fourth characteristic is that muscles are elastic, which means that muscles have the ability to stretch and return to their original length. And the fifth characteristic here is that muscles are adaptable, which means that over a short or long period of time that some of the characteristics of that muscle can change following the exposure to a stimulus. And in this case, the stimuli include training, detraining, immobilization in the event of injury. So by training a muscle can become stronger through the addition of contractile proteins. If training is stopped, the muscle will recede and will decrease in size and become weaker. And if a limb is immobilized as a result of injury, muscle disuse will cause that muscle to get smaller. So this ends our first video on the introduction to skeletal muscle.